So we ended that story. We'll come back to our own story. The Son of God is coming again, isn't he? The people say hallelujah. My trumpeter is here. We'll get back to it again. But people have been wondering why the Attorney General was not in court about the Aisha 1 issue. So I checked, and they said, oh, the Attorney General people are working on it. But Attorney General of Ghana has been very busy. Godfrey Adami has been doing quite a bit internationally over the last few days, actually. Now, here is Godfrey Adami. Incidentally, this photograph is taken just hours before the announcement by the British Broadcasting Corporation that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, as she then was, had passed into eternal glory. This is Godfrey Adami on the right-hand side, and the just appointed Attorney General of the United Kingdom in UK here at Westminster Hall. Incidentally, the same place where the Queen was laid in state. That's where they walked through after they had a meeting with the UK's Attorney General, who had just been announced less than 48 hours because there was a new government in the United Kingdom. Dami had been busy, very busy after that. Here is him again with the Attorney General of the United Kingdom. And the Office of the Attorney General also actually gives a lot of credit to His Excellency Papa Owusu Nkrumah for organizing this meeting. So in this photograph, you'll see Papa Owusu Nkrumah here, Godfrey Adami, the Attorney General of Ghana, the Attorney General of the United Kingdom, and Harriet Thompson, the United Kingdom's High Commissioner in Ghana. All were there, facilitated by the Venerable Papa Owusu Nkrumah himself, a former Attorney General, incidentally, of course, former Majority Leader in Parliament, former Minister for Interior. Papa Owusu Nkrumah, now our Venerable High Commissioner at the Court of St. James's. He organized this event, and so Dami had been there. And then he was back in Ghana quickly, then back to the United Nations, where this is Ajiman Menu. He looks tired, doesn't he? Ajiman Menu, and the very hard-working Deputy Minister of Lands, which is Duka, Mreku Duka, Deputy to Abdullah Jinapor, and this is Godfrey Adami at the United Nations over there. Dami, what is that? The American president's car behind him? Hey, he got close to the car that went to the Queen's funeral. Okay. All right. But Godfrey Adami also spoke, and he spoke about the vulnerable in society and how we protect all of those people. He addressed the United Nations Special Forum in New York about that. Here is he talking and addressing the United Nations Forum in New York.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, the President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. It gives me great pleasure to present this statement on behalf of the Republic of Ghana. At the outset, I'd like to thank the President of the General Assembly for convening this important high-level event to mark the 30th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration on the Rights of Persons Belonging to National or Ethnic, Religious, and Linguistic Minorities. Despite the progress made in advancing the rights of minority groups following the adoption of the Declaration 3 decades ago, challenges persist. We solidarize with the people belonging to minority groups and remain concerned about the disproportionate suffering they are subjected to in conflict situations, including their vulnerability to forced displacement, obstacles to education, and other attendant effects resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's event, therefore, provides us with a unique opportunity to assess the implementation of the Declaration, identify examples of good practices, and explore ways to address the challenges facing minority groups. Mr. Chair, at the national level, it is important to underscore the point that Ghana's Constitution guarantees fundamental human rights to all its citizens. Article 70 of the Constitution guarantees equality before the law and prohibits discrimination on grounds of gender, race, color, ethnic origin, religion, creed, or social or economic status. The government of Ghana remains committed to advancing these fundamental rights and to fulfilling her obligations under international human rights law in a manner that ensures that minority rights are not marginalized. I wish to highlight the following points as instrumental in dealing with the issue confronting minority groups. First, we believe that even though the Declaration was adopted 3 decades ago, it remains relevant in addressing contemporary challenges facing minority groups. It is therefore important for member states to make good their commitment to its implementation. Second, as we move towards a post-COVID-19 era, it is important for states to deliberately put in place measures that would enhance emergency aid, boost data collection for monitoring and tracking of disparities on minority groups, intensify outreach, including in minority languages and sign languages, on how to prevent and address COVID-19 and other challenges, as well as availability of services. This would help ensure that minority groups are not disadvantaged. Third, the growing exclusion, marginalization, and discrimination against minorities require a more holistic and comprehensive approach in addressing their situation. We welcome the integration of employment, sustainable development, and social protection into domestic policies and the advancement of equal rights and opportunities for all in a manner that ensures that the interests of minority groups is served. Deliberate policies that create a conducive environment for minority groups to meaningfully participate in political activities and decision-making process is encouraged. Fourth, there is the urgent need to empower minority women and girls to help ameliorate the various forms of abuses they are subjected to. This, we believe, can be addressed by urgently considering measures embedded in economic support and stimulus packages that reflect the needs of women who face multiple forms of discrimination. The introduction of interventions such as helplines, psychological support, and online counseling is recommended. We need to deploy technology to meaningfully address the challenges minorities face. Investing in media literacy and education aimed at advancing the rights of minority groups, as well as adopting technology-based solutions such as SMS and other networks to expand social support and to reach women minority groups should be intensified. Let me conclude by reiterating Ghana's commitment to the implementation of the declaration. It's our conviction that unbridled political will by member states at the national, regional, and multilateral level is critical to sustainably advancing the rights of minority groups. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, welcome back to the show. That was from the United Nations General Assembly. Text messages are still coming in thick and fast about our first episode. Later tonight, we're going to talk about Electoral Commission. Now, the Electoral Commission is wanting to promulgate a new constitutional instrument, they call it CI, before Parliament. It's asking in that CI that in the next voters registration exercise, which will be a limited registration exercise for those who have turned 18, only the Ghana card will be applied for that purpose, and it's creating a bit of confusion. I listened to Bright Simmons of Imani on Joe FM's news file, and he was making the point that there was no consultations. Actually, that was corrected by CDD's Kojo Pumpuni, that there was consultation. But I'll take you onto the touch screen and show you the provisions in the CI that have been discussed with IPAC and which part is creating the problem, and we'll find out whether there are any solutions to it. So that's one of our stories coming up. Next is that just before the weekend started on Friday evening, there were rumors and online stories that examination leakages had occurred at the Ghana School of Law. I got concerned about that, so I started checking that what's the leakage about. It's not even clear whether there was a leakage. It's an alleged leakage. The point they're making is that candidates appeared to take the exam, which is the law school entry examination, and they were told that instead of 10 o'clock, the paper will now start at 10. At 1 o'clock, something like that. And it has been widely rumored that the actual questions that were set had been changed because it had leaked. That's still a very wild allegation. We will look at the details of that story as well and tell you what we know so that you can deal with it. Later on, Al-Hassan Bello will be coming to us with what's happening in Russia. But Ibrahim Zebela is also around. The Black Stars had been beaten 3-0 by Brazil, and they had beaten Nicaragua 1-0 this evening. What is the road to the World Cup right now? How is it looking like? All of that is coming up. Now, though, I like to hear from you, and so I'm going on to the text messages to find out what's going on. Let me start with you, Mikael. What are they saying?
Okay, Aaron Babako Kokomisa, watching us from Latabia Okoshi, says, the rejection and the hooting from the Global Citizen Festival grounds indicate that 1. The people on the grounds are not familiar with the president. 2. There is a political and social gap between the current government and the people. And 3. Citizens now feel that the 2 political terms of this political administration do not create enough job opportunities for them. From General Ortega, he says, please, the meaning of a word is determined by the context in which it is used. Now, chief goes beyond description of national authorities to other areas where principles in hierarchy can be established. Mark, watching us from the USA, says, good evening, Paul. My little analysis of the videos you played and the ones on social media showed an individual using his mobile phone to record some disgruntled people who booed. The official cameraman for the program never filmed that. Those circulating the videos are the ones who recorded themselves at the back of the pack saying away, away. I like your suit anyway. Master Planner Jr. says those clapping away were just like a drop of water from the ocean. They were the same people always calling for the country to be fixed. And now that we are fixing it, you are here clapping away. Your politically motivated, unflattering, shambolic, and propagandist agenda will never fly. Now, from Felix in Mampong, he says, Paul, at the concert, I don't think the booing was against the president in general, but the booing was for the fact that they came to the program to listen to music and enjoy themselves, not to listen to boring speeches. This mostly happens in our schools when a teacher or the headmaster wants to deliver a speech in the middle or at the beginning of an entertainment program. Paul, Farouk, watching us from Tema, says, clearly the videos expose the propaganda stunts some few people tried to paint a bad picture of, otherwise a rousing welcome for President Akufo-Addo. We could count about 5 people shouting away, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't get the crowd to participate in their staged act. Felix from Adenta disagrees. He says he was not heralded, Paul. It was a complete hooting right from the beginning when the president's name was mentioned by the MC. I was right in the front and was devastated. We have to condemn it. It is not our culture. Walanyo in Akwetia says, I now get it clear that the president was not booed as orchestrated to be believed by opposition NDC for political expediency, and surely this too shall pass. Ghana will surely bounce back to put few people who wish the president to fail to score sheer political goal. And Muniru Yaro from Kintampo says, the fact that the NDC hired 10 people to boo at the president doesn't mean the thousands that cheer the president up are not Ghanaians. The propaganda cannot win an election.
Okay, let me come to Hajia.
Edu Jenfi Prince says, thank you, Paul. If you've not touched on this matter, like I go vex, Papa. I wonder why some media houses have reduced all the tourism gains and leverages this program brings to that handful of people. And they were bold enough to represent the voices of Ghanaians by those insignificant number of people compared to those who were cheering him up. Hatred is a disease indeed. Walanyo Akwetia says, well-loving lawyer of Ghana who sees the deterioration of our arable lands and forests, having Ghana at heart, will not defend Aisha 1. China is protecting their forests and waters, and how can God bless Ghana, our homeland, and make it great and strong if we put on I don't care clothing? Michael Ajiman says, greetings to you and your crew. Continue to set the pace for others to follow. You are indeed a blessing to this generation. D. Boris says, the level of insults and disrespect in this country to the elderly is very serious. The laws of this country must be amended. God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Wow, what a arousing welcome for the king of the Ashanti Kingdom, Asantehene Otumfuo Seyitu II, Piao. Ibn al-Asantes, please spare Manasseh. I think he has repented and wouldn't vilify our chiefs like he did. But Paul, your approach was funny and laughable. I laugh, sir. Joyce the base says, equal rights and opportunities for all. In Ghana, I think that's a question. And Master Planner Junior Kintampo says, fantastic good evening, Ghana. May the Almighty God bless and protect you always from the enemies and all suspons. Keep up the good work.
Coming from Bismarck, dear, why is the media talking about booing and taking the shine from a well-organized festival? We have to applaud the president to bring his concerts to GH. Coming from Alhaji Bob CD, Assalamu alaikum, Paul. Good evening, Ghana, and thank God it's Tuesday. Assalamu alaikum, Paul. Good evening, Ghana, and thank God it's Tuesday. Our Tuesdays and Thursdays can never be complete without your show. Keep on the good work, and Allah will continue to protect and bless you. I would like to use this opportunity to wish my MP and my friend Honorable Eko Vincent Asifwa a glorious happy birthday. Also coming from Fred Che Mensa, our presidents, both present and past, are loved by their individual supporters, and Nana Addo is no exception. I still love him. Coming from George MacDonald Allo, We are getting nowhere because we are always attacking everything Ghanaian. I don't see where he was bored. Just NDC trying to create this, then so what? And then lastly, from Wachi Adam, the most important program in Ghana at the moment. Wahama will not sleep until the program is over.
All right, so we will now. Oh, the Mama will sleep. He's not even in, President Mama is not in town. He's in Canada. He's busy doing work in Canada right now. I'm not sure when he's coming back. Okay, well, we will take a break. When we come back, we mount the touchscreen again for something very important. The Electoral Commission is preparing to introduce a constitutional instrument. In that constitutional instrument, they say that they will register Ghanaians for the 2024 election only with one document, the Ghana card. National Democratic Congress have raised issues against that and are alleging that the EC will be disenfranchising people if that were to happen. And Imani Ghana also added their voice to us. After the break, we'll go on the touchscreen and look at the provisions of the CI and how it disenfranchises, etc., etc. And then we'll get to talk about the law school matter. We'll share with you what we know about the law school situation. There's Russia and there's Black Stars football. All of that on Good Evening Ghana tonight. After the break, we'll be right back. It's 11 minutes past the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. I'll be back.
Located in the beautiful neighborhood of East Legon, Accra, AH Hotel and Conference has all the comfort and luxury you need for the perfect getaway. From check-in to check-out, our friendly staff look forward to pampering you and making your stay special. Our new safety features such as shielded check-in desks, masked employees, and contactless restaurant menus and door keys will give you peace of mind as you enjoy your stay. Our spacious and contemporary design rooms and suites are the height of luxury and style, fitted with modern amenities for your convenience. Take your company to the next level when you host a conference or meeting in our ultra-modern conferencing complex. But don't forget to take time to relax and rejuvenate as you enjoy our many on-site facilities such as our gym, pool, and world-class restaurant. Locate us near American House or call or visit us online today to start planning your next stay. AH Hotel and Conference. Afrocentric.
Dummy dribbles to the right. He's got an opportunity on the edge of the penalty box. He's gone past the defense. This must surely be it. It's in. It's a goal.
Only 150 pesos. You can win up to 16.5 million Ghana cedis in the Betway Atina Ketia jackpot. A jackpot muhine. Bet responsibly, not for persons under the age of 18. This advert has been approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana.
Minutes past the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. Welcome to the show. And we get back onto the touchscreen now to deal with another important matter concerning the democratic development of our society. This country called Ghana, which has a constitution, a liberal democratic constitution. The Electoral Commission is granted some powers under the, oh my goodness, I forgot Article 11. Article 11.7, please, quickly, if you can do that for me very quickly. The Article 11, Clause 7 of the 1992 Constitution is part of this story. But let me start the story again. So, all right, we are going to talk about Electoral Commission. Now, the Electoral Commission has drafted a constitutional instrument that will be heading to Parliament. Before they did that, they had engaged the members of Parliament's Committee on Subsidiary Legislation. Now, our parliamentary processes are designed in such a way that there are two committees that are chaired by the minority in Parliament. One of them is the Public Accounts Committee, which we already know. The other one is the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, is also chaired by the minority. Very interesting development in our constitutional provisions. Very, very good. That the minority will chair the constitutional the subsidiary legislation, so that government cannot pass legislation politically motivated, etc., etc. And then, of course, the Public Accounts Committee, which is to protect the public purse, also chaired by the minority. Now, the Electoral Commission has engaged with them. So what's the confusion now? The Electoral Commission says, I'm going to open voters register again. Now, I found out from them that they are not doing an entirely new voters register. So for those of us who have a voters ID card, who voted in 2020, it's still valid. Whatever you did in 2020 is still valid. You can use that card. What you are doing right now is to add new voters, because every year people turn 18. So over the last period, people have been turning 18. Let's get to the details of this, and then we will come back and look at it. So this is the narrative. Electoral Commission has sent a constitutional instrument to Parliament that will enable continuous registration, except up to 60 days before the elections. The sole document for this will be the Ghana card. So that's the problem. Electoral Commission says it's doing a voters registration exercise for new voters. It will be continuous. Continuous means that they don't have a date and start. The only exception is that they cannot be registering voters by the law within 60 days before the election. So if it's 60 days before the election, Electoral Commission must stop. Electoral Commission is telling us that they're going to begin the exercise, and it will be continuous. So you don't need to go and queue. It's a long period. When you turn 18, you just show up at your district office. But let's go on to the narrative and continue. It continues to say that Ghana card will eliminate the guarantor system because the information on it is complete, with parents' names and all, including nationality and age. So there's usually a guarantor system when we are doing voters registration, because we want to be sure that the people are Ghanaians. So if I go and there's doubt, somebody comes with me and says that is my son, is my daughter, is my uncle, I know him and all of that. A lot of the information about an individual's lineage within the context of being a Ghanaian is available on the Ghana card already. So if I go Ghana card, Paul Adumochi, my mother is X something, and so she also has a Ghana card, so they can quickly see. So they put Paul Adumochi down. They say that this is Paul Adumochi's mother is X person who may be deceased, father is there, sister is there. The sister's Ghana card also comes. The uncle's Ghana card also comes. So the Ghana card contains all that composite information that you need to determine whether a person is Ghanaian or not. Okay, so that's what they are saying, that the Ghana card has everything. So they are not going to use any other document. It goes on. The process will occur in the district offices, but the CI allows the Electoral Commission to add a few more centers in districts where some communities are too far away from the EC offices. The Statistical Service reports that by 2023, about 19.5 million Ghanaians will be above the age of 18 and beyond the voting age. So that's the important information. Let's take that again. The Statistical Service reports that by 2023, about 19.5 million Ghanaians will be above the age of 18 and beyond the voting age. So 19 out of the 30 million will be above the age of 18. So what does this mean? It doesn't mean that we're going to register 19 million new voters. No. The Electoral Commission says that of this 19.5 million, that the Statistical Service is anticipating that they will be above the age of 18 by 2023. They have already captured 17 million of them. EC says they've captured 17 million. So technically, by the end of 2023, they are looking for 2.5 million more people to add. It will be more because the process continues until October 2024, okay? So that will be more. Now, for those group of people, that 2.5 million that need to go and register because they become 18, the Ghana card will be the sole documentation to be able to register. Let's move on, and then we'll come to the issues. Okay, 17 million Ghanaians are already captured in the process in the last voter registration exercise. It is anticipated that about 2 million or so people will be added to the electoral roll. All of them will need a Ghana card to register. A proposed amendment by the minority in Parliament to include guarantor system will struggle without the support of the majority in the face of Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution. Can they just send me Article 11.7 on my phone so I can read it? Now, so when the conversations started, when the conversations continued, is that Article 11.7 they're giving me? Okay, fantastic. All right, they work on it and get it back for me. When the conversations continued in the Parliament, the minority in Parliament recommended that the guarantor system be added to the ID card, the Ghana card, so that if somebody shows up and doesn't have a Ghana card, have somebody to guarantee that he's Ghanaian, have somebody who is already on the electoral roll to guarantee that he's Ghanaian. Electoral Commission doesn't want to do that. They say that if you are 17, 16, and you are turning 18 by the time of the elections or by the time the registration exercise is open, which is just those who are 17 and 16 now, they can do that. You need to keep an eye on the Ghana card and procure a Ghana card. And that's very possible because the Ghana card is rolling very, very fast. Because without a Ghana card, you cannot do that. Okay. So when they put Article 11.7 there, I'll show you what we're talking about. Now, the Constitution is very interesting, and this is one of the parts that may need an amendment, because what it is that if an authority under the Constitution lays a constitutional instrument in Parliament, that constitutional instrument will be ripe for implementation after 21 days of its laying, unless and until 2/3 of the members of Parliament are able to vote against it. Very interesting that when an authority, whether it is Commission for Human Rights, whether it is Electoral Commission, and all of those authorities under the Constitution, including the President, executive instrument, ministers and all that, when they lay a document in Parliament, the document will last for 21 days. After 21 days, that document is as good as law until 2/3 of the members of Parliament rise up against it. Now, that may not happen in the circumstance of the Parliament that you have. It will take a long time for you to have a single opinion in Parliament dominating 2/3 of it. That is to say, one political party wins 75% of the seats in Parliament. That's not even good for our democracy. That's not going to happen in a very long time. So as it is now, in spite of the concerns raised by the minority, even at the subsidiary legislation committee level, this CI by the Electoral Commission is going to pass unless and until the majority and the minority come together to raise a 75% quantum of voice against the bill. Until then, the bill is passing. Okay, so here we are. Article 11 is what I'm looking for. 11.7, okay, it's here. Yes, 11.7 is here. So I read it. Oh, beautiful, they're making it bigger for us. All right. Article 11.7 is here. It says, any order, rule, or regulation made by a person or authority under a power conferred by this Constitution or any other law shall A, be laid before Parliament, B, be published in the Gazette on the day it is laid before Parliament, and C, come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days after being so laid, unless Parliament, before the expiration of the 21 days, annuls the order, the rule, or the regulation by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all members of Parliament. Very, very instructive. This is a provision that I would say is one of those that shows the dictatorial tendency of the Constitution, for which we say it was designed for a dictator. If a minister lays something, any authority under the Constitution lays something, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's laid, it will be there for 21 days. It passes unless 2/3 of Parliament say that they don't want it. So this Electoral Commission's thing is most likely going to pass. Okay, it's bigger here, maybe all of us can see. Any order, rule, or regulation made by a person or authority under a power conferred by this Constitution or any other law shall A, be laid before Parliament, B, be published in the Gazette on the day it is laid before Parliament, and C, come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days, being so laid, unless Parliament, before the expiration of the 21 days, annuls the order, rule, or regulation by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all members of Parliament. So until and unless 2/3 of members of Parliament say they don't want a voter registration exercise beginning next year, which will require only the Ghana card, that rule will pass. So young people, don't get into the politics. Get your Ghana card. You're 16, you're 17, get your Ghana card. That's the only way that you can get on the electoral roll. I think that we needed to make this clarification. As we keep on looking at, the CI has not yet been laid, so anything can happen. Consultations are still going on. We don't know how the consultations will go. We'll look at that and then follow what happens. But this is the story on the Electoral Commission. Okay, so let's take an interlude break with the Asantehene's arrival, and let's come back to the law school issue, and then from there, I am released to deal with Al-Hassan Bello, who is coming to talk to us about the latest in Russia. Russia's map may be changing, by the way, because they are adding a few more territories to their territory. United Nations and the United States and the West, especially the Western media, are calling it a sham. So we will see what is happening. Now, there's another interesting aspect that Ibrahim will be telling us, Bello will be telling us about. The things that occur in America quite every now and then, unfortunately occurs in America, has just happened in Russia recently. Some gunman just walked into a school and shot some people. Is that a way to bring Vladimir Putin's attention to security issues at home so that he doesn't have so much time on Ukraine? We are not so sure what all of that is about. But Ibrahim Bello, Al-Hassan Bello, will join us and tell us that. Let's take the Asantehene's interlude. When we come back, we'll look at what is the issue about law school and leakages. Okay, so let's come and talk about this disturbing issue of the law school matter. There's a paper on my desk. Mikhail, take it for me. It has names of some individuals who are members of the... no, it's in the book. No, in the book. Open the book. Yeah, the small paper. It has names written on it. That one, correct. Thank you. Yes, okay. So let's just get a clear explanation. I think that the Ghana School of Law is being very poorly treated by the media in presenting the Ghana School of Law in some sort of dereliction of duty story when they talk about examinations at the School of Law. It's important that we set that record correctly so that people can understand. It's just that people have not paid attention to that part. So the Ghana School of Law itself, as it stands, does not conduct examinations at all. No examination is conducted by the Ghana School of Law, zero, because of what I'm going to tell you, because of what happened in Parliament. The Ghana School of Law does not conduct examinations. The Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana, led by Ramona Tuguba, does conduct examinations as a university. All other universities, KNUSC, they conduct examinations. But the Ghana School of Law does not conduct any of its examinations. All the three major examinations that occur around the Ghana School of Law. The first one is the entry exam, second one is Professional Part 1, and the third one is Professional Part 2. All of those have been determined by Parliament to be conducted by an examination body independent of the Ghana School of Law and even the General Legal Council. When that independent body have finished their work, they present it to the General Legal Council. At that stage, Council is able to look at it and say, reduce pass mark, add pass mark, do this and do that, and then they can do it. But in terms of conducting the examination, marking the scripts, Ghana School of Law has nothing to do with it. we just want to bring that understanding, and it's becoming quite worrying, especially what happened on Friday in the middle of the day. Story comes out, examinations have leaked, and everybody's talking about the Ghana. I called the director of the Ghana School of Law. Everybody called him. And he said, I'm also hearing the news the way you are hearing it because I do not conduct examinations. Okay, so let's go to the touch screen and understand that. It's the LI 2355 is entitled Appointment, well, part of the LI, not the whole LI. LI 2355 has a section from section 12 onwards, Appointment of Independent Examination Committee. And 12.1 says the council shall appoint an independent examinations committee. The council refers to General Legal Council. This LI was laid in Parliament and passed by Parliament. Number 2, a person is qualified to be appointed by the council as a member of the independent examination committee if that person is a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature or a retired justice of the Superior Court of Judicature. B, a lawyer of not less than 10 years standing at the bar. C, a legal academic who is at least of the level of a senior lecturer. Or D, a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. Very interesting composition, isn't it, of the examinations board. Justice, a Superior Court judge, a former Superior Court judge, a barrister of more than 10 years, legal academic of senior lecturer, and D, a person who is not a lawyer, a member of the Chartered Institute of Accountants Ghana. That's an accountant. 13 says the Independent Examination Committee shall administer the following: A, examinations for admissions into the school; B, examinations for qualification for enrollment; and C, any other examination mandated by the council. So the independent council conducts all the examinations for admission into the school, examinations for qualifications for enrollment, and any other examinations mandated by the council. So when the General Legal Council set up the academic calendar and they determined that an examination should be taken at any stage, and so far there are 3 main examinations that occur: the entry exam, professional part 1 exam, and the final professional part 2 exam. All of those are administered by an examinations council, independent of the Ghana School of Law and independent of the General Legal Council, which appoints the council, the examinations body, and they conduct the exams. They choose the venue for where they do the exams and all of that. Let's go on and see. The Independent Examinations Committee shall, A, determine the venue and the time for the conduct of the qualifying certificate examination, and within a reasonable period after the completion of the qualifying certificate of the examination. I, the council, will then arrange for the examination scripts to be marked and submit the examination results to the board through the Chief Justice. The board shall, within 2 weeks after the receipt of the results, submit the results to the council for consideration and approval. This is what happens. So there's an Independent Examinations Council. They have a name. They are called the Independent Examinations Council, IEC. And they conduct examinations at the Ghana School of Law. So when there are allegations of what happened on Friday, let's find out the Independent Examination Council. Because of the work they do, they are supposed to be sort of, covered. So we don't talk about them. But I'd like to mention their names here. The Venerable Professor Nia Shikote, former Dean of the Faculty of Law, who is also a lands expert, and Justice of the Supreme Court, JSC. Professor Kote is on there. Lawyer Frank Beecham is on there. Dr. Edu Labi is on there, and Mr. Christian Soti is also on there. There are 5 of them, just 5, very, very powerful 5, who conduct the independent examinations. They are called the IEC, the Independent Examinations Committee, set up by the General Legal Council, pursuant to LI 2355, passed by Parliament. So we need to get a better way of investigating some of these examinations issues that occur at the law school, by understanding that it's not the administration of the Ghana School of Law. So a lot of people abroad who have been writing about Ghana School of Law and why they don't allow everybody to come in and why they don't demystify it and why are candidates failing. All of these concerns, and why candidates think that they have been cheated in the exam, why candidates think that they have been victimized by lecturers. All of these concerns building up from the decades ago is the reason why Chief Justice Georgina Wood decided to go on LI 2355, draft the LI, and have Parliament look at it that, okay, because of all the concerns that come, the law students think that they have been cheated because somebody didn't like them, because the lecturer told them in class that you will see what I will do to you. That has been happening for decades. So Georgina Wood said, we're having too much of this, too many of these concerns. Let us set up an independent examinations council whose membership is appointed by the General Legal Council of this stature, Superior Court judge, barrister of 10 years, a chartered accountant. Put them together, let them conduct the exam independently, just send us the results. So if you teach at the Ghana School of Law, you teach civil procedure or whatever you teach, you can mean, as they say in Ghana, you can mean the students, you can mean him for whatever reason. But you can't mark a script. That is the way to bring transparency, fairness. And it was Georgina who did that, and we congratulate her for doing that. So since then, this is what has been happening. So when the 600 people wrote the exam and only 50 passed, it's the Independent Examinations Council that's making that determination. I don't know why in Ghana we are concerned about that. For the longest time, the last 70 years, everyone knows that the pass rate of New York Bar is very low. But yeah, that's it. Every year they go to New York Bar, they know that of the 100 who are writing, X number will pass, a very low rate. It's always low. You go, you try your best, and you hope that you get through it. If you don't like it, you go and write California Bar. You can go and write Chicago Bar. But as for New York Bar, the pass rate is low. Those who become chartered accountants in Ghana, ACCA and CA, we know that we have had friends who started in level 200, they wrote ACCA part 1, part 2. By the time you meet them 10 years after school, they are full bankers working somewhere or full accountants working somewhere. They tell you that I'm now still writing the final part. So yes, I mean, there's a hurdle to climb to get to those enviable stages, you know. When we were growing up, there was something that says that great heights attained by men were not attained by sudden flight, but they, whilst their companions slept, kept toiling upwards in the night. We heard that, didn't we? Great heights attained by men was not, well, so now we can say great heights attained by men and women was not attained by sudden flight, but they, whilst their companions slept, they were toiling upwards. Like right now that we are here, some people are asleep. Oh, they are asleep. They'll go and write on Twitter something. They are sleeping. We are toiling. They are sleeping. And then they'll go and write something on Twitter. Okay. It's now, we've crossed the half hour. So we are now into 25 minutes to the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. Permit me to tell you a story for which reason I was struggling to tell you the time. So when I started doing radio, and in radio, we have something we call back announce, okay? Back announce in radio means that because you started a program at 10 o'clock, somebody has joined at 10:15, he really doesn't know what you're talking about, so you back announce. So an example of if I was doing a back announce right now, if my producer showed me the thing and said, please back announce, what I'll say is that you are watching Good Evening Ghana, we started at 10 o'clock, we have treated this topic and that topic, we are now on this one and we are moving to, that's the back announce. Okay, and when you do back announce, you always include the time, okay, in radio broadcasting. So when we were saying the time, so it's now 10:37, that's the correct time now. But in radio, you don't say 10:37. As Tommy and Anforson said, I received a few knocks on my head for that. So I'm on the radio and I'm talking, I say, 37 minutes past 10 o'clock. Tommy comes and says, are you sick? What is 37 minutes past 10 o'clock? Get and say it properly. After the half hour, you say it towards 11. Okay, so viewers, if you are with me on the lesson, what is the correct time now to announce on radio and television? It is 22 minutes to the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. That's how you say it. That's how we're taught to say it. I hope they still say it now. So if you hear a radio presenter says 10:38, please, tell him that we don't say that on radio and TV. You don't say 10:38. It's not correct. You say, how do you say it? You say, hey, let me do it well. Hey, is it 38, 40, 22, 22 minutes to the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. That's the correct time. That's the way to say it. Okay, so viewers, let's all go. What's the time? 22 minutes to the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. I'll take a few text messages. Al-Hassan Bello, get ready. Let's understand what's happening in Russia. Do you have some text messages for us?
Yes.
Eunice, let me start with you.
Coming from Sanctity Imagery, watching you live from Nigeria. I love your program, but you suddenly stopped talking about Nigeria. Please talk about Nigeria politics. Nigeria is about to experience a real change. A party called Labour Party, LP, is seriously gathering momentum to challenge the two major parties we have in Nigeria, which are APC and PDP. I am Sanctity Imagery from Nigeria. And coming from Daddy Pinzi, one of the best, if not one, then amongst the best. Sumani Yusuf also says that watching you live from Ejumako Central Region. And then Kwawo also saying that I really like this man. He's really specialized and he's matured in his work. And then Mary Amayabua also says the best station. Ofori Sarkodie Kofi is saying that the best socio-political show of our time.
Evra Carl says, upon all the good works of the government, people are still not praising His Excellency. Gertrude Asantehene says, fantastic, Paul, so genius. God richly bless you for this truthful story. Ayuma Richard says, Massa, I was there, though I did not boo some, but he was really booed.
Ni Azubotri says, even one person booed at the president. It's logically correct to conclude the president was booed at. Joe Dawson says, good evening, Paul. I admire and proud of you. I have been following you since Metro TV, and your journalistic work has never changed. Keep up the good work. Abdul Hadi Mohammed Sugru says, I personally don't see anything wrong with the Electoral Commissioner wants to do. The next general election in 2024 will not be based on West Africa Voters Register. It's going to be organized using Ghana's Voters Register. The news regarding the cancellation of the law school entrance exams was first broken by your own brother, Randy. Make sure you call him to order. Deeper and wider investigations always have to be made before certain statements are made. My regards to Haja on your show, even though she has stopped replying my messages. I'm sorry, baby.
Stop there. Haja has stopped replying. Haja, I asked you, have you been replying the message? You said no. The guy says you've stopped replying. Why have you stopped replying? But the guy doesn't know that you are Haja's brother. Please, what's his name again?
His name is Abdul Hadi Mohammed Nasugru.
Mohammed Nasugru, is he the one from Nigeria? Or he's local, he's based there? Please, the guy reading is Haja's brother. Yusuf is Haja's brother. So maybe you can channel the message to him directly, and then he can reply for you. Okay, Bello is here, so that we can take also the football. Let me switch over to him and talk to him quickly. I met a guy in traffic, you know. He said, you have been interrupting Bello too much. Charlie, Bello is the guy, you know. So I think they like your revolutionary zest or something. You want to run for MP or something like that? No. Oh, are you sure? No, the guy was very excited. He was stopping me. He says, Charlie, you have Bello, let Bello talk. He said, look, Mr. Paul, I like your show. When Bello is there, go and sit down. Let him talk. So welcome, Alassane Bello. What is the latest? What is Russia gaining?
Well, these are the regions that are conducting the referendum. And then so, meaning, if it goes as
but some have ended. Some referenda have ended. Yeah, it's in favor of Russia.
So it's left with the result for Donetsk at the moment. I think around Zaporizhia is about 97% per the report.
For Russia, to join Russia?
To join Russia.
97?
97. In Luhansk is about 87%.
Wow.
In Kherson is about 93%. But mind you, even within these zones, you know, the Ukrainian counteroffensive took a portion of what they call Zaporizhia and Ukraine. So the referendum are taking place within the places that
Russia have. But that's bigger. It's bigger, isn't it?
But the entire Donbass amount to...
No, I'm saying that if you take, say, Zaporizhia, the part that Ukraine have is smaller than the part that Russia have.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah. Okay.
And
so the population, are they more on the Russian side?
Yeah, the population so far, the pre-war population of the entire Eastern Ukraine is about 6.5 million.
Hold on. So you are saying that the Ukrainian army has moved from Kiev and they are at this place?
Yeah, they are at the periphery of this. Oh, the Kiev, I think in the mid-March,
they moved.
The Russian forces were compelled to withdraw.
Yes, but we know Russia is withdrawing, but is Ukraine following them?
Yeah, they're following them.
Oh, then Ukraine is doing well.
Yeah.
And with Ukrainian troops. Yeah. So that all this part is Ukraine, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So these are the
parts that are so Ukraine are planning to try and take over this as well. That'll be a difficult task, though. Yeah. That'll be very difficult. But the ethnicity of the people here, what are they? What do they speak? Or Russia and Ukraine have the same ethnicity?
Eastern part of Ukraine is mostly Russophobe region. But then within that place, around this side are ethnic Russians. But when you go further around the areas of Kharkiv and the rest, they are mixed. But then Russian language is widely spoken across the Eastern Ukraine.
I see.
As a lingua franca.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah. So why is the international community saying that this referendum is a sham?
But then that takes us to what you call it, the UN article. We have to go back to the right to self-determination.
Yes.
And then I think it emerged around somewhere in 1860s, but it became very popular at the end of the World War I, World War II, and then this is the Atlantic Charter. But prior to that, during the you remember the 14 points that was outlined by Woodrow Wilson when he was intervening in the World War I.
American President Woodrow Wilson?
Woodrow Wilson. He outlined some 14 points that will be used to settle the dispute. One of them was, what do you call it? The 14 points talks about the right to self-determination. This is what
the right of a people to self-determination. Will that one be more about, if you talk about First World War, Austria and the German situation, because the forces then were trying to sort of put Austria and Germany together, something like that?
No. You know, by then we had two in the World War I. We had two blocks, the triplet entity, that was the British, the French, and the Russians, and then you had the Central Powers, Austria-Hungary, German Empire, and the Ottoman Empire. But then after that, but prior to that, you know, there was this. Because the empire was huge, there were other nationals within each of the empires. So it's about how do you deal with the issue now that the empires have been dissolved. So you need to create. That's why we have the current Middle East itself was born out of the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. So one of the the point was that I think he said a free, open-minded, and absolute impartial adjustment of all colonial claims, based upon strict observance of the principle that determining all such questions of sovereignty, the interests of the population concerned must have equal weight with the equitable government whose title is to be determined.
So is that a template that the United Nations uses for?
The portion of the 14 points were used to, to form the League of Nations. And that also was, it also appeared in the Atlantic Charter. That was signed between the British and the Americans to address the post-World War II world order. And then it's also found its way into the United Nations Charter that talks about. So these are the evolution of self-determination.
That's interesting. What's Mahatma Gandhi say? I'm interested in Mahatma.
No, he also used the 14 point and the right to self-determination to stake a claim for Indian independence.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And we'll get to that. And then per the Atlantic Charter, the second, a clause was that, the agreement was that territorial adjustment must be in accordance with the wishes of the people concerned.
But why has Russia violated this? How can we say that Russia has violated this clause in the charter which says the territorial adjustments must be in accordance with the wishes of the people? Have we interviewed the people of
when we get to the UN or the article that deals with the self-determination, then we'll begin to look at that.
Okay.
But I'm only trying to lay a preamble of the evolution of the right to self-determination.
Okay.
And then the same Atlantic Charter, the point number 3 also stated that all people had the right to self-determination.
All people?
Yeah.
But I think the key point here is that we have to be able to ascertain whether the people want to or not. And I'm not sure whether in this war contest we have been able to do that.
So we'll get to that point. And that was what was used by the colonists. There was always this strict reference to the Atlantic Charter. And when pressure was mounted on Winston Churchill, he once said that I have not become the king's first minister to see over the liquidation of the British Empire. But then that was because the colonists were making reference to the
charter.
The charter that he signed.
Yeah.
And then Mahatma Gandhi is also staking his point. Though India was the British most precious possession in the colonial
at that time,
So he said, he was referring to the Atlantic Charter.
I venture to think that the Allied declaration that the Allies are fighting to make the world safe for the freedom of the individual and for democracy sounds hollow as long as India, and for that matter, Africa, are exploited by Great Britain. Very interesting.
And then this also takes us back to one thing. There was this issue that Gandhi was a racist and Africans were just panting.
People thought he didn't like Africa. He didn't like black people.
But then, there were times where he made some series of racist remarks. But that was in the initial stage of his political life.
When he was in South Africa?
He was in South Africa. But then he was evolving. Gandhi was maturing. He was beginning to become politically conscious. So you can't take one aspect of his, speeches to begin to determine the man.
But somebody can also say this may have not been completely honest because he was fighting for India, but he needed to use Africa to make the case.
No, but he made it known to the British that he said if India becomes free, the rest of the British Empire will collapse.
And indeed, Nkrumah took inspiration from Nehru and Gandhi.
And the whole non-violence, everything made for him. Now let's go back. This is the UN Charter that deals with the right to self-determination. Article 1, point number 2 of it says, to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for principle of equal right and self-determination of the people, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen universal peace. So now the question is, how do you determine self-determination between the colonial era, where nations were seeking independence, and now where issues evolve within the territory of some countries? But now, per the Russian, argument is that they've always said that the eastern part of Ukraine, being Russian speaking, are under threat of the neo-Nazi element within the Ukrainian government. Well, some element of neo-Nazi are found away, the like of the Azov Brigade. But does that equate the entire Ukrainian system into a neo-Nazi government or neo-Nazi party? Obviously, no. We can't say that. But the fact that there are some elements does not mean that it's a neo-Nazi government. But then that is the Russian argument. So they've premised their whole intervention on the fact that, the argument was that they want to go and protect Luhansk and Donetsk, right?
Yes.
But then, Article 33 of United Nations, that seek to address what you call dispute among nations, state that parties to any dispute, continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial sentiment, resort to regional agencies or arrangement, or other peaceful means of their own choice. The Security Council shall, when it deems necessary, call upon parties to settle their dispute by such means. So the question is, prior to the invasion, did Russia resort to any of these, arrangement, that will determine whether it has a legitimate claim or not? Fine. Per the Russian argument, there was this attempt to negotiate with NATO. But then the tactics that was used was more like a carrot and stick approach. Because whilst they were calling for NATO to negotiate and give them guarantee that Ukraine will not join NATO, but then they had amassed troops on the border.
They are already evinced an intention for war. Yeah.
But then the question now is, so by seeking dialogue whilst maintaining the element of force, does that fall within this? Because it states that you must first of all seek for solution by negotiation. That's the case where your attempt to seek for solution is back with element of force. Begin to see how dicey it is. But from the Russian perspective, they are characterizing that referendum to be under the right of self-determination. But then now that post-colonial era, how do we determine the right to self-determination? Then let's look at the instance where South Sudan was carved out of Sudan. That will give us a practical example.
Okay.
So do we now say that anytime there is tension within a particular country, the right to self-determination applies or not?
But that was the case of Sudan, wasn't it?
That was the case of Sudan.
But the military situation in Sudan was UN-backed, wasn't it? It was UN force in Sudan.
No.
Was it America?
There was this series of civil war. You know, when you go to the old Sudan, not now.
Omar al-Bashir.
The Sudan at the time.
Historical Sudan?
No, the Sudan at the time.
Yeah, the United Sudan.
Before 2011, had a linguistic, or let me say ethnic divide between the northern Arab-dominated and the south, which is made of mostly African ethnic groups. You have the Nuer, you have the Dinka. You get, so, but they felt that the resources was the oil actually was in the south at that time.
Okay.
And most of the oil was being exported, and the wealth or the benefit of the oil is being, kept in the north.
Okay.
So they felt that they were not getting their fair share of, and they took arms against the central government. And the war
in the civil war.
In the civil war. And they lasted for almost 20-something years or so, 27 to 30 years. Part of the agreement that led to the negotiation was that the people of South Sudan would have to choose, after a government of national unity was formed by 2011, whether to be part of United Sudan or break away. But then, so now it's too different. But see, in the case of Sudan, it was an internal mechanism to solve an internal dispute.
But it was supervised by the United Nations, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was United Nations involved.
Yes.
But then it was carried out because the war was between the nation. It was a nation at war with itself.
Oh, I get your point. It wasn't an external aggressor.
It wasn't an internal aggressor. But in the case of Ukraine now, you have to look at the fact that Russia has intervened. And then the election is not being supervised by UN because UN has the principle of non-interference. So now, when you compare the principle of non-interference of UN, we are supposed to respect territorial boundaries, and then the decision that was taken here, should we say that there was interference or not?
Well, but the interference was invited by the warring parties when they set up the National Government of National Unity.
No, but
so then you come back to the charter that talked about negotiation and all of that. So if Russia goes to a negotiating table, then both parties, Russia and Ukraine, can invite the United Nations in, and then they can decide.
But
United Nations can look at the situation and say, the next people are, they looks like they want to go to Russia, let's do a referendum. Even in Ghana, the plebiscite that occurred, it was United Nations supervised.
Yeah, that was, you see, that was the time, because Transvoter Togoland was a trust-ship territory, not part of the Gold Coast colony.
No, it wasn't.
So you had to decide the fate. It wasn't just in Ghana alone, you had the issue.
But let's assume that Russia will continue in this quest, and therefore those referendum will stand. Russia will try and use military power to secure those territories. How would Russia look like after that? The new Russian map.
So this is map of Russia in Europe. So that would be this current map with a portion of this side.
Oh, you didn't get it out for us. So Russia will, okay, so what's the population of Russia right now?
These are the population distribution between the two countries.
Okay, so where's Russia?
Russia has about 144 million population.
144 million, and
Ukraine?
Ukraine
has 44 million population.
And the territories, those territories that we are talking about?
Prior to the war, it has 6.5 million population.
Prior to the war, 6.5. So you're going to add, so Russian population is going to reach 144 million plus something like 5 million.
I don't think so. Because of the war, they've been displacement and then what do you call it?
But their territory was okay. Well, Russia started from there. Did they displace them? They just used their place as a base and then decided to launch.
Some people, prior to the when people saw the massing of troops on the other side, some left the place before the war. And then if you look at images emerging on the media, you could see that it's either the aged people who are left behind or those who are mostly pro-Russia. But those who are pro-West are leaving because they fear reprisals. You remember during the case of Crimea, when Crimea was annexed, captured by Russia, we saw, this is Crimea. It was already annexed by Russia in 2014. And even during Crimea, the vote resulted in 97%, what do you call it, in favor. But then the question now we have to ask is the 83% and the percentages coming from this place are coming based on the current population that have voted.
Not the entire population as we know it before the war.
Because of the displaced.
We don't have all the information. Okay, let's talk about Russia itself now. Disturbing news coming in indicate that there's been shooting in Russian territory. We don't get that reported often. We don't know whether it happens and it's not reported or that it doesn't happen at all. But this one has been widely reported by Western media and even Russian television. Is it a way of people trying to create this to get Vladimir Putin to have security concerns at home, so that he does not have enough time to focus on this international unilateral war that he's fighting?
Well, at the moment, reports are very difficult to ascertain because on one hand, you have a total blackout of the Russian media, but on social, on the social media, with the explosion of journalists from Sputnik,
yes, I get it. Yes, but there's been videos
and
of
then
this event.
On the Russian side also, they've been this attempt to control the media and regulate what comes.
But Russian media has reported the shooting.
So I'm trying to establish the fact that both sides are trying to limit what other side can say, what can get out.
Fair enough, but both have reported on this shooting.
On this particular shooting, it was reported as an isolated attack.
Yeah.
And then the casualty was about, I think, 17 dead and 24 wounded.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen regularly. And then parents, I mean, irrespective of the numbers, parents are going to be concerned. Like American parents are always concerned.
It doesn't happen regularly.
And that's creating security. Is that enough to begin to create security issues at home for Vladimir Putin?
No.
Because this happened in Moscow, central Moscow.
I think Putin will rather focus on the exodus we are seeing.
The other aspect, which is where a lot of Russian young people are leaving to countries where they don't need visa to go, Belarus and all that. When they head conscription to the army, they are running away.
Yeah. This one is just an isolated attack. And prior to that, aware of you can remember the Beslan school attack. So schools have always been attacked on isolated basis, depending on which side. In the Beslan case, it was these Chechen rebels who attacked us to make headway. So,
do we now know who did this attack?
I think it was just a lone attacker.
A loner, but do we know whether he was influenced by something?
No, it was reported that he has psychological or mental issues.
Okay. So you think Vladimir Putin will be more worried about the sociological situation where Russian young people, quote unquote, jumping off the ship of patriotism and leaving the country because they don't want to go to war? This would never have happened in the time of Vladimir Lenin, you know that. So there's something changing about the psychologically of young Russians.
Yeah, so we need to look at the generational gap between those who were born before the collapse of the Soviet Union and those who came post-Soviet Union. You know, prior to the collapse, Soviet Union was a bit of a closed system whereby you need permission to go certain parts of the world. And then it also takes us to the, what do you call it, to the ideological underpinning of the side of Russian society. There are those who are still nostalgic about the Russian Soviet period.
About Lenin, Russia.
Yeah, the prestige, not just Lenin, probably the Stalin era.
Stalin,
Because Stalin really established and defined the structure of Soviet government.
Yeah.
Lenin was just an ideological brain.
Yes.
But then, when you look at Putin and his Slovaki cohort, those from the military background, you know, at the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union, Putin was based in Eastern Germany.
Fighting.
At the time.
Yeah.
As a KGB officer. So they saw both the prestige and what they termed to be the embarrassment.
Okay, so they're trying to restore.
So now they are not really trying to restore. But if you look at what Russia did post-World War II, they sought a buffer between they and the West, because the West have concern with Western proximity. And then what happened was that you could see that they created a buffer in form of the Iron Curtain. So now what they are trying to do is to now limit the rate at which NATO gets to them. And so Ukraine was a way of making a statement. But those who were born post-1990 didn't really see Soviet Union.
All of that, yeah.
They saw it with things of the past.
And they saw a global world,
and
a unipolar world.
They are more cosmopolitan, they are more, what do you call it?
Neoliberals.
But then also, in as much as people are moving in their thousands, I don't really think they even amount to 1.1% of the Russian population.
Yeah, but that it happens at all.
But then another thing we need to look at, are they really going away because they are against the war? Or because they were issued with the conscription? There were supposed to be some exceptions.
Yeah.
Like people with medical background, what do you call engineers. But then in terms of handing over the conscription letter, there's this belief that some mistakes were being done by people who were supposed to be on the exempted list.
Are not being exempted.
And
the other way around.
So it also has to do with the conduct of
the process.
But Putin will be more concerned about that, because what he sought to do was to bring 3,000 combatants into the field to allow him put a hold. You know, one thing about war is that you have two options. It's easier to go by air. Cripple your enemy's ability to resist, so you don't have problem of holding land against his attack. But when you go by land and capture territory, you have a burden of making sure you hold that territory. And because Russia went on initial attack by land rather than air power to neutralize the Ukrainian resistance, it failed in capturing or holding the ground, so it has to withdraw to this part. Now, he was expecting to bring the 3,000 combatants to fill the deficit of numbers that he required at the time to put a hold.
Where are the early numbers? Have they died?
Yeah, I think there was some died. But I know in war, apart from death, there are injuries. And there are also, what do you call it, immobilities. So he needed to fill the gap.
Okay, let's leave it here. I'd like to get Ibrahim back on the Ibrahim here so we can do all that within TV time. 2 minutes past the top of the hour. It's 11 o'clock. Forgive us, we're going to wrap it up at 11. But now we have to have Ibrahim. Is he coming? He's going to be mic'd before he comes. So he can take up the mic and hold it so that we don't have... please give me your mic, Mikael. Yeah, the mic seems to be working. Ibrahim is going to do a very short one. Thank you very much, Al-Hassan Bello. Ibrahim, very quickly. So where are we?
Okay, so the Ghana vs Brazil game.
Yeah, let's start with this lineup.
So this was the lineup against Nicaragua.
No, this Brazil game is old. Let's deal with today's matter.
This was the game against Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And the coach made a lot of changes to the lineup.
Did it turn out to look good? I saw the team play a little bit, 10 minutes. I was preparing for TV. I didn't see all. Kudus always very good on the ball and all that, but I'm not sure about...
Well, but in context, if you look at the opposition, Nicaragua, is it really a good opposition to test our team against? But the team played very well, but they missed a lot of opportunities. They created.
Who was the most guilty striker missing the chances?
Kudus missed a lot of opportunities today.
Oh, today. Oh.
Kudus missed a lot of opportunities.
Who was playing at our central top?
That was Inaki Williams.
He didn't score.
He didn't score.
Did he do well?
In the first half, he hardly even had
opportunities
because he wasn't getting enough supply from the midfield. But in the second half, he came into the game a bit when he was dropping to get the ball and at times supplying even Kudus with the ball. Even he supplied the ball to Kudus, Kudus scored, but it was cancelled for offside. So he did quite well. But the main...
Did the Ayew brothers come in at all?
Yeah, the day Ayew came in later on, about in the 80th minute. That's when the first substitution happened. That's when the day Ayew came into the game.
Do we have a problem with sound? So what should we do?
Hello, son.
Oh, so everything he said has not been heard? Oh, my goodness. Hello. Okay. Sorry. What's happening? I think we have a sound problem. Viewers, we apologize for that. Let's do some text messages. Please, can you take us on some text messages? Oh, anyone ready, not ready? All right, I don't think text message is ready. Soundman, we have to close at this stage. Okay, the soundman is here trying to fix it, isn't it? Trumpeter, get ready. You're going to close us, and piano, please get ready as well. Ibrahim, we have to close, and then on Thursday we'll let you come and talk about the game in some detail. Yeah. Okay. So, Trumpeter, give us a song. You know, the Son of God is coming again, and then we're ending. Yeah. I'll do it.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Has Christianity